Recently, I was a little bored scrolling through Game Pass, kind of looking through my play later, and I just happened to come across Anthem. Oh man, Anthem. What a failed game with so much potential, sort of. We'll get into that in a little bit. I decided to download Anthem for the heck of it. I played on launch and, dropped it pretty quick because it was pretty bad. I was pretty sure the game servers were off at this point, but much to my surprise, that was not the case. I ended up actually being able to play with other people, and the experience of playing Anthem in 2024 is honestly not that much different than playing in 2019 when it released. But there's a lot here that is honestly still really good, and I don't really know why this game was shuttered so quickly when a lot of games that come out now have a longer lifespan when they're not as fundamentally fun to play. Now, there are so many things wrong with Anthem, and we're going to get into that in a little bit, but this is just going to be my experience playing Anthem in 2024, talking about the gameplay, why it's still really fun to play, even if the story, characters, the menus, and pretty much 80% of the rest of the game still kind of sucks. Okay, so why am I playing exactly, you might be asking. Like I said, I just kind of was scrolling and I saw that Anthem was on Game Pass. I think it's been for a while because it's through like the EA Play sort of thing. I was just interested to hop back into this game and this world because I remembered really enjoying the gameplay and actually sticking with the game far longer than I probably should have just because it was fun to play. And I wanted to see if that was still the case, and yeah, it definitely is. The gameplay is definitely Anthem's strongest point, mostly because of how good it feels to fly through this world, which is really ironic when you consider that flying was something that, one, was almost taken out of the game entirely, and two, I'm pretty sure was added like 6 to 9 months before release, which is absolutely insane. That the best part of this game, the best feeling part of this game rather, actually, no, yeah, just the best part of this game is the flying and something that was almost taken out and put in at the last minute. Truly bizarre. But what feels really good is each of the Anthem kind of suits that you have, I don't remember the javelins that you have, all feel really unique, honestly. There's only 4, which is stupid. There should have been more. But all of the javelins feel different and unique, and that can provide a little bit of a variety in the gameplay, albeit it's not that different. Like, there's different ultimates and different slight like abilities that they have, but overall you are doing the same kind of things. So before I get too far ahead of myself, I'm going to be talking about the gameplay, and then I'm going to talk about the story, kind of the hub world and characters, and the menus, all of which suck. So that's 3 out of 4 of the things, the main kind of points I'm going to hit on that really still suck in this game. But the fun of the gameplay, at least for me, is so strong that I really wish that this game had stuck around, or at least had stuck around enough for some like real changes to be made, because unless I'm remembering wrong, there was barely any updates to the game, and they didn't even release the first main DLC that was like slated for, I think, a couple months after launch. Like, they didn't even get to that point. EA just kind of gave up on it that quickly, which is a little bizarre because we have a game like Suicide Squad over the last couple months still being supported with the continuing seasons when there is nobody playing Suicide Squad, okay? And here in 2024, 5 years after Anthem's release, I'm playing some of the first main missions, and I still get matched with players, which means there's still people playing, which is genuinely bizarre. I was incredibly surprised when I got matched with someone, and it was fun. We're flying around in our suits, we're having a good time, but that's just going to be the general premise of my thought process here in the video. Back to the gameplay side, you'll probably be wondering, hey, how do the guns feel? Is there a lot of variety there? Well, this isn't Borderlands. All the guns pretty much feel the same. The starter gun you get, I think, is still the best gun in the game, but the guns do feel decent to shoot. Like, they're not the worst thing in the world, for sure, but they're not the best. They're not like Destiny or Halo, but they're not absolutely awful to shoot. They feel better than the weapons in Suicide Squad felt to shoot. Again, not necessarily trying to dunk on Suicide Squad, but, what a terrible game there. You know what? We are going to talk about the Suicide Squad for a minute because that's a pretty good comparison here to Anthem. I found the gameplay to be decently fun in Suicide Squad, but I just stopped playing. I didn't even get the game. I just played some of the open beta, and I was like, I can tell this is not going to be great. Anthem, on the other hand, I remember playing, and even playing now, it is genuinely fun to just fly through the world, and I don't think there's been a game that has captured the power fantasy of flying through a world in an Iron Man sort of jetpack suit, aside from Anthem. And I'm genuinely surprised that no other game has done that, because, like, why wouldn't you? You can kind of go off of the Iron Man fantasy anyways, and just have it in, like, a crazy fantasy setting something like this. So all the different javelins are fun to play as. They all have a little bit of uniqueness to them and they look unique. Using their ultimate moves are pretty fun. My favorite is the kind of fast javelin that can just do this like freaking crazy like flash super speed where they just kind of go all in with melee combat. It's great. And that's really where the good ends with Anthem. Because the world, you may be thinking, wow, this is a pretty world. Is there anything interesting? No, not not really. There's not much interesting in the world of Anthem aside from pretty vistas. While I said the gameplay was fun, it is absolutely not engaging because for each of the missions, each of the locations you go to, you are essentially doing the same thing over and over. There's only really like maybe 2 or 3 different kind of quote-unquote activities that you'll do in main missions, by the way, not side missions or open world stuff, and that's it over all the main campaign missions. Like, it's a bit ridiculous, clearly rushed, like so clearly rushed. Like, you can either go to a place, shoot some guys, and I think you have to like collect like certain amount of materials from them, whatever, to power up something, or you go to a place, kill some guys, go to another place, collect these like little light orb things while avoiding enemies to get to the next area, and you kill some more guys, and then you get some more stuff to power up a thing, or you have to stand and kind of defend the center area, and that's pretty much it. That's the gameplay for every single mission. It's pretty bad. And you know, if you want to play devil's advocate, you could say that's the thing with any game. You're doing the same thing over and over again. Yeah, sure, you're gonna be shooting. It's the gameplay is the same, yeah. But like the locations and the activities you're doing should never ever be this samey. It's not even just samey. It should never, ever be the exact same thing you're doing in different locations that all look pretty similar. You can't even tell they're different locations. Like, I swear, I'd be like, man, wasn't I just here on this last mission? No, it's a different location, technically, but it is the exact same copy-paste layout design. And speaking of exact same copy-paste, boy, this story is... the most generic sci-fi mumbo jumbo I have ever played. Like, I haven't even played Immortals of Avium, and I know that was kind of dunked on for being very generic sci-fi. I swear Anthem is more generic-y than that. And this is Bioware, for crying out loud. Like, I would love to see a whole 10-hour-long documentary on what went wrong with this game. And it's not the story isn't necessarily interesting. It is, but only because you don't really know what's happening for most of it. The first mission takes place in kind of a prologue setting, and then you go to like current day, and everything interesting has kind of happened before you got to this world. I feel like you're just this generic javelin, and in the prologue you're part of this whole soldier force, and you're kind of take down this like Heart of Rage thing. I couldn't even tell you what was going on in the story because I genuinely, 1, didn't really care, and then 2, the only way you're getting much of the dialogue is as you're flying around in the open world doing these missions, and you're just getting paragraphs and paragraphs of dialogue thrown at you by your like partner in your ear. Like, man, it's not engaging. And the other half of the story comes from all these characters in this main hub area called I don't even remember the hub area. That's how forgetful it is. But it's a really pretty hub area, very reminiscent of something like the tower from Destiny. And the way you kind of progress certain missions is you spawn back here, go talk to someone, they give you, generic dialogue, blah, 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 which is fine, whatever. But not really, 1, for a Bioware game, and 2, when it's not interesting. And when walking through this space is so tediously slow, and the dialogue delivery for anything in the story of relevance isn't incredible. And what's worse is much of the dialogue that you have to sit through when you go talk to someone is not really relevant. Like, I felt like it was like, hey, go talk to like this Owen person. He's kind of like the guy in the chair, the man in the chair guiding you through a lot of the open world stuff. Or hey, go talk to the leader of the javelins, or just go talk to your mechanic. And it was like, they're just like, you'd go and talk to them, and they'd just be like spouting just the most random stuff that's not really relevant to you, and then you would have to make a dialogue choice that didn't impact anything at all. Like, I tried several different options, like talking to my mechanic the first time it's like, hey, dialogue choices matter. No, they don't. They really don't at all. Last thing I want to touch on that I know and I remember being an issue when the game launched is the menus and loading screens. I am pleased to report, I guess, that the loading screens are much better on my very expensive computer versus my Xbox One back in 2019. So I would hope the loading screens would be better, but they're still pretty long for a game that came out in 2019. And not only are the loading screens long, there's a lot of them. Not as many as Starfield, mind you, for sure, but there's still, there's too many. There's a loading screen to get into the tower area. There's a loading screen getting into your javelin, which then you have to go into the menus. Oh my word, the menus! The menus in this game are so convoluted and so needlessly messy. The way that all the menus are just like stacked on top of each other is so incredibly bad. It's just bad. And I will say, for all of its faults, Anthem really got javelin customization pretty good. You could change all the colors on your javelin and textures and material and all that kind of stuff. Really cool. You can get different armor pieces and use them for your javelins and, make it your own. I remember really loving that. Unfortunately, of course, nothing's really added. That's another good thing that could have been greatly expanded upon, even though I'm sure it would have been a lot of microtransactions, but of course it would have been. Okay, so with all of that said, Anthem in 2024, is it worth playing? Sure, give it a shot if you own it or if you have Game Pass, because that's the only way this game is worth your time, because it's just a fun little romp. If you just want to fly around and shoot stuff, yeah, go for it. It's great for that specific reason. I was just wanting to just kind of do something mindless, and I got that with Anthem. And as much as I really wish this game had been further supported and the devs really been able to further make it what they wanted, that didn't happen. And this game is pretty much the same as it was upon launch, just with slightly less bugs, which is a real shame because I really think that this game could have done a No Man's Sky, could have done a Cyberpunk 2077. Now, not quite on those levels because the fundamentals of this game are really bad and you can't really patch that out or work on that. You can't replace the terrible story. You can't make all these main missions suddenly interesting to play. But you can definitely add to that, and you could have added more loot, more engaging loot, which I didn't even really talk about that much. Add more javelins, add more variety for players to kind of chase things, because this was technically, and is technically, a looter shooter. There could have been a lot of potential here. Real shame that it wasn't the case, but I'm enjoying just messing around with it now, and I'm glad that I still can play it. Honestly, I thought the servers were offline, and glad that is not the case. If you want to check out the game, it's on Game Pass, and it's probably for like $30 on Steam every other week. I don't think it's on Steam. So that was my experience playing Anthem in 2024. Let me know down below if you have played this game recently, your experience playing it, your experience playing on launch, and any opinions you have. That'll be all for me, so I appreciate you guys watching. Be sure to, like, subscribe, all the YouTuber-y things if, you enjoyed the video and enjoyed my voice talking about games that I love, because that's what I do here.